Rajiv Kumar, thank you so much for speaking to us here on Republic, sir. This has been a budget that has been much talked about. Many say a budget, that rarely comes once in 100 years, because in such difficult times, if you do not touch the direct taxation table, as in I, the Aam Aadmi, does not have to shell out anything from my pocket, there is no COVID cess, we must give the government full numbers. What is your biggest reading, sir, of this entire budget?
Well, good evening to you and to all the others. And my biggest reading for this budget is that the focus, the unprecedented hike in public capital expenditure of 34% at a time when the private investor has been shy of investing, when private investment has been actually, in some sense, rather weak and declining. The government has, bitten the bullet and taken it in its hand to ramp up public capital expenditure because it is only that way that we'll be able to restart the economic engine of the economy, which has been in some sense stalled because of the pandemic and the COVID. So the 34% increase from 4.12 lakh crore to 5.54 lakh crore is amazing. If you add to that the 2 lakh crore that the center promises to give to the states, which also raise their capital expenditure, this will become more than 70%. And this is the way to ramp up the economic activity, because this will attract private investment. This will generate significant multiplier effects. The infrastructure where all of this money is going to be invested has backward linkages with more than 200 sectors. So that will generate employment, that will generate the demand for other sectors. So for me, apart from, of course, the obvious need for having ramped up the health sector budget by 137%, this is the one single item that makes this budget, universally acclaimed and receives the kind of reception that it done from the stock market, which had not been seen for the last 20 years. One just additional point, which is that I'm so happy that at a time when global interest rates and domestic interest rates are low, and when there is a lot of liquidity in the market, the finance minister has taken the bold growth-oriented step to, in some sense, cast away the FRBM shackles and say that we will go for extra spending even if the fiscal deficit rises, because we are sure that this will not generate inflationary expectations or raise the bond yields going forward. So I think to that extent, this is again a historic step of saying that, look, we will tailor our fiscal policy to the requirements of the economy and to the requirements of the country, and not be beholden to some rating agencies which work on their own, their own judgment and on their own agenda. And I think these two are, for me, the sort of very big steps which make this budget pretty unprecedented, actually.
All right, I think, Mr. Kumar, you've put that point out very well. Now, I want to put the focus on the Kisan outreach, sir. The Prime Minister earlier said that this budget has farmers at its heart. Now, we are looking at the Rural Infrastructure Fund that has been increased to about 40,000 crore, offering MSP at 1.5 times cost of production. The Agriculture Fund is going to be made available to the APMC. Allocation for the MSMEs have almost been doubled. Talk us through this. Where do you think this growth story in the agriculture sector now is going ahead?
No, I think, this budget continues with the government's commitment to improving the farmers' income, the farmers' level of living, the farmers' welfare. The finance minister said that 40 crore farmers have benefited from the PM Kisan Smriddhi Yojana, where 6,000 rupees were transferred to them every quarter, and that's raised their income levels. Now the budget takes the next step in modernizing the Indian agriculture, in improving the rural infrastructure by expanding the reach and size of the agriculture infrastructure investment fund, so that will be used to strengthen the APMCs, that will be used to get 1,000 more mandis into the ENAM structure, that will be used to improve the agro parks and the food processing and the value addition, so that the modernization of Indian agriculture and making it globally competitive and export oriented will take place, which will take the agricultural sector to a new level in the years to come. And that's, I think, a very, that again shows that for this government, the commitment to improve the farmers' well-being has been central and will remain central as we go forward. For the SMEs, for the MSMEs, which account for such a large percentage of our employment and of our workforce, as well as for our exports, the budget has been more than doubled this year to 18,700 odd crores. Now that just shows the government's willingness to improve the access of the MSMEs to the new technologies, to new markets, and to credit. Now, you know that in the last 1 year, several steps were taken for the government, as for example, guaranteeing the first 10% loss of credit that the banks would give to the MSMEs, and that has continued. And the banks, for example, now will be much freer because of the improvement in their balance sheets, with their non-performing assets going over to the asset reconstruction management companies to lend more to the MSMEs. So the MSMEs also will now become, their revenue limits have been raised and raised up to 250 crores. Their tax audit requirements have been reduced, so their compliance burden has gone down. All of that is done to make MSMEs a strong part of the global and regional production network, so that they can take advantage of all those investors who are moving out of China and wanting to find new partners for their supplies and component supplies. And this will make MSMEs an integral part of Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign that the Prime Minister has launched, because they will improve domestic manufacturing capability in sectors after sectors. And I think this budget does takes a significant step in improving their lot in the economy.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, also if you could briefly touch the insurance. Now, why is the opposition today crying foul about the fact that, the FD and the insurance sector has been increased from 49 to 74%? Because is this not revolutionary? Explain the entire intent behind this.
We must start off by the fact that the penetration of insurance, life insurance in this country is abysmally low. It's, I think, about 5% now. And in rural India, it is pretty much non-existent. And that just means that we have not provided the safety net to our people, which such insurance policies and insurance net provide. The reason for that is that our private sector insurance companies do not have the capital to start expanding their network and start, do the actuarial, have the actuarial capital base to expand their coverage. The foreign direct investors have been asking for years to allow them a majority shareholding so that they can bring larger amounts of capital into the country. Now, by raising the insurance FDI to 74%, what the government has signaled is that very large, long-term funds like the, California pension funds, or the Abu Dhabi sovereign fund, or the UAE pension fund, or the Canadian, pension funds, they can come and invest in these companies, because these companies have long-term liabilities and they want long-term assets. So they will invest, so that the ability of the private insurance companies to expand their network will go up significantly. But please note that the finance minister also has provided some safeguards, that despite the 74% and therefore a control, as it were, of the companies by the foreign directors and the foreign promoters, they will not be allowed to take away more than 50% of their profits abroad, and they are required to retain those profits and reinvest them in the business here. So that's one big safeguard. The second safeguard is that 50% or more have to be Indian directors. And if you have a director with 26% holding, he or she exercises a controlling interest in the working of that company. Now, with those safeguards, I think there is no reason to believe that these companies will, in some sense, spirit away funds from India, and they will now, for the first time, allow the Indian consumer to have access to rightly priced and better funded insurance policies as we go forward. And combined with this is the proposal to list the LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, through a IPO, which will also make it more competitive and which will make it accountable to a different set of shareholders, so that this will be this marks really, as you used your word, to use your word, a real revolution in the insurance sector in the country, which we have been waiting for a long time.
All right, but those are very good and encouraging words, Sir Rajiv Kumar. I really want to thank you for your time, sir, and helping us understand the key concerns that you have seen, particularly coming in from the opposition, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on Republic.